Hi everyone, welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. Though right now, at this very moment, I am sitting on the couch in New York City, still here for the holidays, still trying to bask in New York's glory, even though both Naomi and I were sick for most of this trip. But hey, we had a great show for couples therapy at the Bell House. We're here with Mabel. We're seeing some of our friends. And then it's back to Los Angeles. But you know what? I may feel not great about going back to LA because it is just a hole in existence that everyone there is living in. I may not be excited about that, but I am excited about today's episode. Happy New Year. First episode of 2020. I have a long backlog to get through of interviews that I've done over the past couple months, and I did this, I want to say September, October, somewhere over there, when my guest came through town. And who is that guest? Why, musician Ada Leah. Now let me read you her bio if you don't know who she is. Ada Leah, really her name is Alexandra Levy. Originally from Montreal, Quebec, Alexandra was on the path to become a professional competitive skater, but the end of her career there led to an artistic one as a painter, visual artist, and musician. I'm being vague about how that ended. We talk about it in this interview. Her debut album, What We Say in Private, was released last summer on Saddle Creek. I love it. It's one of my favorite albums of last year. In fact, if you've never heard Alexandra's music before, Alexandra, a.k.a. Ada Leah, I'm going to play a song of hers for you right before we get into the interview. So, what can I say about this one? Sometimes when a guest comes in and they're a little shy, I get worried, but Alexandra opened up very quickly, and we got into it. I identify a lot with her. And again, very interesting. She started off her life right out of the womb. She went right onto the ice. But she started off as a professional skater, and very interesting path into music. What else can I say? Hey, if this is your first time listening to Beginnings, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you want to check out other episodes, they're all on Spotify. You can download them at beginnings.libsyn.com. This is 427. So I've done 427 plus a bunch of bonus episodes. That's a lot for you to comb through. You can do that, or I could recommend you some right now. Alexandra's a musician. What about other musicians that have been on the show, such as Ava Luna, Senior Rabinos, Angel Daradorian, Nick Thorburn from Islands, Sadie Dupuis of Speedy Ortiz, Colin Newman from Wire, Colleen Green, Anna Waronker from That Dog, Dean Wareham of Luna and Galaxy 500. And who else? I talked to Alan Kepner from Palehound recently, and a ton of other people. Somehow in Los Angeles, this turned almost exclusively into a podcast where I interview musicians I like. But actually coming up are a lot of great interviews with TV writers. Josh Siegel, who wrote on Good Place and 30 Rock and a ton of those shows. That was a great interview. Larry Hankin is coming up. You might know him as the downstairs neighbor from Friends. He's a fantastic character actor, and he started off kind of in Greenwich Village in the 60s, hanging out with Bob Dylan and Woody Allen, which was cool at the time. And now, if you were like, yeah, I hang out with Woody Allen, not a cool thing, but in 1964, I guess so. But we have I don't know who the we is, but those are coming up. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do it on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or Google Play or a bunch of other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Andy Beckerman. And I think that's about it. You can write me at andy@beginningspod.com if you want. I haven't put that email address out there in a while, but I do like getting mail from people. And 10th anniversary of the show is coming up on the 26th. I did a special interview with a musician I have been a fan of since I was in high school. And that will be released on the 26th, on the 10th anniversary of the show. So look out for that. And thank you so much for checking out the show. And now, right before we talk to Alexandra, I'm going to play her song, For Real Now, Not Pretend. So Happy New Year, and here is Ada Leah.
So you wanna dance alone now, you wanna speak less, somehow you want your bed to yourself now, you wanna breathe, well go ahead now, you wanna take the step as the first vow, you wanna pick the fruit off of every branch now, you wanna hold your head high and know your heart around, you'd rather go stay and leave town. I heard you wanna die. The confetti floating in the sky, celebrate your life and all that you've done right. Na 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 na. Do you wanna dance with me? Just one last chance. Do you wanna dance with me? Just one last chance.
Walking down the deserted street and the street lamps are flickering. There's something pulling at you badly. You look down and there ain't nothing there but that nagging feeling. Always clawing at your insides, and sometimes you're left panicking. You realize at that very moment you just want to feel something. At that very moment while you're walking down a deserted street, right then and there, it all dawns on you. I just want to feel something. I just want to feel something. It's always you. It's always you. I just want to feel something.
Beginning.
How do you feel? I don't. You said that before your brain's a little buzzy at the
Yeah.
moment, and I'm also in I'm slightly getting over a panic state. We woke up to everything that could come out of any of our animals came out of our animals overnight.
Oh no.
So that's the state I started in this morning.
At least it
and
didn't come out of you.
True. I did not wake up and I didn't piss the bed. That's true. So that's a positive. So so you put a positive spin on this already. We can start there. Are you a positive kind of person?
Oh no.
Okay.
Definitely. No.
What if you had to describe yourself?
Oh man. I don't know. I would say that's the hardest question.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked it. I'll be honest. That's not a
hard
question
one.
I've ever really asked anyone.
I like what would my profile be if I had
Yeah, if you were on Tinder.
if I was on Tinder? I have been on Tinder before, and I think it was just from Montreal. What's up?
That get a lot of people?
Maybe, I don't know. I was never very good at Tinder and online things like that.
All that stuff existed after I was already paired off. Mm-hmm. So I don't know anything. I can swipe for other people as a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And send messages for other people. Mm-hmm. And it's worked slightly. Once it worked for my friend Michelle, I swiped for her and then I started messaging with the dude and I said, "You look like someone that would kill me."
Wow.
And that worked. And I think they went on a date.
And he's a psychopath.
He just looks like a psychopath.
Oh my god.
I don't know what's in. I don't know if murder is in his heart necessarily or not. But
I hope not.
Michelle's still alive, so I don't think so.
But all of his other exes.
Oh yeah, I can't speak for anyone else in his life. I like your album a lot.
Thank you.
And I tried to do a little bit of research on you. I could find very little bit. You live in Montreal.
Yes.
You're the second, literally in a row. I don't know what the release schedule is, but literally, I just talked to another Alexandra from Montreal.
No way. Who?
Her name is Alexandra Strelinsky. She is a
yeah.
modern composition.
Yeah, I know she
She's
plays piano.
Yeah, she's great.
Great.
So I'm also dripping with sweat. I exercised before you came over, and
I can see the palette.
the sweat beating off me. I'm also look. Here's the other thing. I'll just lay it all bare, and then you can decide how mentally ill I am. But I all my t-shirts are slightly tight on me, so I put on this hoodie to cover up my midsection.
Okay. It's okay. You can don't worry about it.
All right, don't look at my stomach. I'm going to take this hoodie off.
I can't see, the laptop is covering it.
Oh yeah, that's great. So
yeah, it's too hot for hoodies. I have a hoodie too, but
it is it's out of control hot. Naomi just she has a meeting and she just took the dog for a walk. Our new dog for a walk, just for around the block, just a little early midday walk, and came back, sweat through her shirt.
No,
climate change is real. If no one believed it, if no one believed it for the last I would say 20 years, we've been hearing about it.
Yeah.
Then the proof that my wife walked around the block and came back dripping with sweat. There's the proof. There's all the proof.
There's the proof that
What's
you
her
need.
name? Wait, it's okay. So are you from Montreal originally?
I'm from Montreal originally, born and raised. I have lived in New York, and then I moved back.
What brought? I mean, you went to school in New York, right?
I went to school in New York, yes. But I've basically lived in Montreal my whole life.
So what's the Montreal of your youth like? What are you doing? I don't really know much about Montreal. I was there for laughs a couple years ago.
Okay.
And my knowledge of the town was a 10 block radius around the festival. So I don't really know much about Montreal at all.
It's not that spread out. It's pretty small of a city. There are little hubs in like the cool districts, I would say, and I live in the like not cool district, and I still live with my parents. And it's really nice out there, but like I do feel quite isolated from some whatever music community, because I'm just like not around. Yeah.
When you say you don't feel a part of it, I mean, you go to shows, you play shows.
I play shows, and I kind of go to shows, but because I live kind of like far from everyone and everything, I don't really go out that much. So, yeah. And
that's where you grew up?
Yeah, that's where I grew up too. Yeah.
Are you an outgoing person at all? I know you seem quiet here, but it could be that I'm new. It could be that you're on tour, so maybe you're tired.
I wouldn't say I'm that outgoing. No.
Very succinct.
Yeah.
Were you always kind of like, are you shy? Are you just reserved? What?
I think I'm very shy and like socially awkward and have lots of anxiety meeting new people.
Oh yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, and I always, when I'm meeting new people, I'm just very much in my head and wondering if what I'm saying is really obnoxious or like unnecessary, or I feel like I never really add anything positive to the spin. So I'm like, Allie, just shut up. Don't say anything at all.
You're not.
So I come off as a very like shy and like quiet, but really there's like a lot happening in my head.
Oh yeah, that's most of it's either going on, if I'm in a conversation, I'm either self-recriminating at that moment and like just stuck in this loop in my head with like, because I'll say something and then I'll be like, wait, were they offended by the thing I said, even though I didn't mean it to offend them?
And then you have to clarify, and then you just look like this crazy person.
Yes, exactly.
It's better to not say anything.
Yes, that's what I've been like figuring out lately. It's just like, you know what? Just let the thing pass. Deal with it. This is your own.
Yeah.
This is your own anxiety. This is not on the other person. Even if they didn't. This is the thing I keep saying, and I say this to my wife a lot because when I'm outside of it, I'm like, no, you. If they misunderstood what you said, there's something wrong with them. You didn't say something ambiguous.
Yeah.
You said something. If they take it wrong or they purposely take it wrong, they're either dumb or an asshole. So that's not on you.
Do you ever feel like people hate you? Like you've met someone and there's no reason at all for them to dislike you, but you have this feeling you're like, they definitely hate me?
I don't know about hate, but definitely indifferent. I definitely like here's what I do. If someone is not effusive on their face, I immediately project my own insecurities onto them and then assume I guess hate may be too strong, but in that area, somewhere like adjacent to hate,
or they like dislike you
in the neighborhood of hate.
Yeah.
Well, is that you all the time?
That's me, like, all the time. Even for people that I'm close to. It's very strange.
Even now? Are you getting that from me at all?
No, I'm not getting that from you yet. Maybe by the end of the interview.
I doubt it. You would have to be the older I get, the more I'm like, someone has to be, like, genuinely morally reprehensible for me to like, actively dislike them.
Yeah.
I mean, we also live in very terrible times where people are very actively inhuman. So that's where most of my hatred is going, towards the active inhumans.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Even if you were passively inhuman, it's not enough to raise my ire these days.
Yeah.
So wait, have you been shy going back to childhood, or reserved, or like in your head about people?
No, it's a pretty recent development, I would say. As a child, I think I was outgoing and I was very much into sports, and I used to figure skate competitively. And
really,
I would just I can just picture myself being a very confident youngster.
Yeah, I would have to imagine you have to be confident to figure skate. It doesn't seem like a thing that, like, it seems like if you have a lapse of your confidence in a moment that could fuck things up.
I'm just feeling like that is such a Canadian thing, actually, that I'm here. Yeah. Do you guys like figure skate? Do you guys skate here in California?
I'm not from Cal. I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, you're from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay.
We moved out here like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I don't.
So you're like familiar with figure skating and skating and okay, cool.
Yeah, I hate everything about this place.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is a terrible city.
Yeah.
We're here for work, and that's it. But so yeah, no. A figure. I mean, I've seen figure skating on TV, but that's the extent of my.
Okay.
I've roller skated before.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of people think that at least Montrealers or Canadians in general, just like that's all they do. And then here I come being like falling into that cliche. I'm like, I used to figure skate like everyone else.
It's funny. I have absolutely no conception of what a typical Montreal, a typical person from Montreal. I even like stuttered there for a second because I'm just like Montrealer.
Yeah. A Montrealer.
I have zero understanding of the city besides it's a bilingual city, right?
Yeah. Mostly French speaking.
Juice pour rire.
Yeah. So
My terrible.
Wait, what was that?
Just for laughs, isn't that juice pour rire?
The juice for laughs. Yeah. So yeah, the just for laughs. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Sorry.
So wait, I mean, is there a growing up in Montreal, being from Montreal, is there a stereotype of the city of a person from Montreal?
I think what I've heard, at least from people in America going to Montreal, is they think that like everyone from Montreal is beautiful. I've heard that a lot. Like my friends in New York would come up from Montreal and they'd just be like, it's true what they say. Everyone here is just so beautiful. And then like I look around, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? There's that. Then there's the skating thing. I think that's it. Yeah.
Wait, how many people in Montreal figure skate or skate period? I mean, hockey is huge.
I feel like everyone that I know has skated a bit. At least in the wintertime, it's been an activity that they do. Maybe I'm just inventing that right now to like fit into what I'm saying. But no, a lot of people skate. It's kind of just something that you do as a hobby in the wintertime.
I mean, is that how you got into it? It's just like everyone's skating, so I'll try this as a child. I mean, I guess what I'm really curious about is like, how do you go from, oh, this is a fun thing that we all do, to I'm going to do this competitively now?
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure how that happened. My parents kind of just put me on the ice when I was 2, and then I was really keen on skating and begging them to skate at first. And I think there are like coaches that are there that are kind of keeping an eye on the younger, more able skaters and trying to recruit them.
So you were recruited?
Kind of. I think in a way that's what happened, where they just suggested to my parents, like, well, like maybe, she's pretty good at this age with group lessons. Maybe you should try, like, I don't know, the private lessons or like the private skate time and see how she goes from there. And it's just like such an expensive sport and hobby to do. So it just made sense that it would be this professional thing that needed to happen right away, because my parents like didn't have much money to put towards it, but they were like, if it's her dream, like let's do everything we can. And then yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Are you an only child?
I have a brother.
Older?
Younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can keep taking guesses at things.
You were close though, yeah.
Well, there's only 2 ways to go.
Yeah.
It's
Unless
3,
I
guess.
twin.
Yeah. But wait, so you had how long did you competitively skate for? Or how long did you skate, period?
Until I was 15. Yeah.
And so you had a coach?
I had a coach. I had 2 coaches at different periods of my life. The second one was like definitely the more serious of the 2, and she had like skaters that went on to like compete at like worlds and stuff like that.
I mean, what, like, how, I want to talk about your parents, but like, I have to imagine that growing up doing this competitively, the coach or both your coaches are like a very formative, important figures in your life. Mm-hmm. Is that true? Or am I?
Well, it was really just whatever happened on the ice and off ice training they were present for, and then I didn't really spend much time thinking about them besides those moments. But they definitely had a big impact on how I saw myself and how I wanted to improve. And yeah, but I don't like, I can see that image of a coach that is just like, I don't know, overbearing in some way. And that was really not what they were like.
So they weren't like, I mean, it's not like your coaches are coming over for dinner on Friday night or something.
No, definitely
for Shabbos or whatever.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So they're just like, again, I'm curious about a lot of this stuff because my only access to it is through television or through movies, where you do see like the stereotype of the overbearing coach who is like such a huge part of the skater's life or whatever sport they're playing. Yeah. It's they're like best friends, or they're like somehow it's like a like another parent or something
or
like that.
A tumultuous relationship, and it was like lots of tears. No, it was not really like that. I mean, I saw my coach. I saw her every day, pretty much like 6 days a week, and I got one day off. And yeah, I went to school nearby the arena where we would train with everyone else. So I like switched schools to go to this like special school for sports. And she would kind of just be waiting for us. I don't know. It was a gentle relationship. Yeah.
So,
she's very sweet. Yeah.
When do you actually start competing?
I think at the age of 5 or so.
So like they identify, some recruiter says, hey, your toddler would be great, a great skater.
I think I was like 2 or 3.
What do they even look for at that age?
I think like some sort of fearlessness, or I don't know. I'm just trying to think of myself as like a baby trying to skate. And it's a very odd thing, but I think just someone like low to the ground. I was just like, I was low to the ground. I had these like kind of like, I don't know, like thick thighs. Like I was just very small.
You're a toddler.
I was very small and like hadn't grown into my body, and had these like strong thighs to like, carry myself. So I don't know.
It's such a strange, like the idea of like someone sitting at a rink going up to like a 2-year-old's parents.
Yeah.
Is
I'd have to ask my parents exactly how it happened, but I feel that's like how it started, where we would go to like the public rink ice time and I would skate there, and then I would, they just enrolled me in like group lessons as a casual fun thing to do on Sundays. And I was just so keen on skating, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure that one of the coaches there was like, maybe she should, try this out a little bit more frequently.
So at 5, you actually start. What does it mean to do figure skating competitively? Like, is it the thing where they play a song and then you do a little?
Yeah, like I had the most horrible tune.
You do a routine.
I do a routine. I had like a little solo performance, and the songs are always like horrible. I don't know if they've improved them, but there's someone, you kind of like choose music. I can't really remember who was choosing the music, because I definitely didn't choose the music, and it was always the kitschiest stuff. You just would send off a bunch of songs to this, I don't know, mixing engineer. I don't know what he did exactly, but or what they would do exactly, but they would just make like a compilation of all of these songs, and that would be your routine. And so it would be like these songs that would really unorganically transition to the next song, and there was no like proper segue, and it would just be like these like smooth, like not smooth cuts to different songs, and then you'd be like skating to that.
But no one's like doing like Apples in Stereo or like some Pavement or some indie rock band.
No, none at all. It's just like with a really bad, like I had like a Greek performance one time where it was like Zorba the Greek, and like it's like so embarrassing. I do have tapes of myself doing this. I told like I have a really close, my best friend is Greek, and I told her about this, and she's like, can you show me what the dance was? And I like showed her some moves, and she's like, this looks like some sort of like Jewish dance actually. Like, what are you
Like
doing?
the hora?
Yeah, I'm doing the hora.
Wait, so who creates the routine? Your coach or you?
We had the coach would for sure create the routine, and then as I got older, we had to hire a choreographer to do the routines, because there was more on the line. We were like doing bigger competitions. There was more at stake, and I ended up like doing pretty well in the skating life. I feel like I achieved the goals that I wanted to achieve, and then it got a bit confusing because I didn't know really if I wanted to be doing it anymore, and I didn't feel that like joy. And that's like towards the end when I stopped. And
Is that what was it just like something natural? Like, I don't know if this is doing what it used to do for me as you get older, or was there something else?
It was like a big like sadness or like void in my life where I was training so much and felt like I missed out on like all of my childhood just competing, and my adolescence too, just like training, and couldn't participate in sleepovers and do the things that like normal. Go to camp in the summer, I'd go to skating camp, and also having the pressure that my parents were putting on me because they were investing like so much money that they didn't really have towards this thing they thought that I loved. So I felt this like pressure to, like one of my goals was to go to the Olympics, because I was like, I need to somehow make back the money that they've put in.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was like a horrible thing. So, well, not really. It wasn't that horrible. I mean, I was like so privileged to be able to do this activity and this sport, but there was a lot of pressure on me, like as a youngster.
But just to like put that on yourself, like I mean, it's the same. Like if I thought like I had to like pay my parents back for the Transformers they got me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But it's also like and I hope my mom doesn't listen to this because she's going to be like so sad. But like, she grew up with immigrant parents from Italy, and they had like no money at all. And she wanted to do activities like skating and stuff like that. And her mom would say like, it's not possible. We have no money, and like you would never be good at it anyways.
Oh.
So yeah. So I think she wanted so badly to like give me that opportunity to do that, because she was never given the opportunity. So I think part of it was like, I don't know, like showing herself that like she could give me a better life than like she grew up with.
Was she ever living vicariously through you, or was it just a kind of like, I want you to have the things I couldn't have?
I think it was like mostly that, but a little bit of like living vicariously through me. And she was like always so supportive and so proud, but there was definitely that bit towards the end, mostly when it started to get a bit dark in my head, where I was like, who am I doing this for, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how it took? Did it take form as a kind of depression, or was it just like this is not... I'm trying to think of like something in my life where I'm like, doing this didn't do what it once did for me. Mm-hmm. I guess that's really, I can't think of an example, but like, or was it an act of like a kind of like actual bodily depression?
It like it turned into a depression, like my first ever depression, but when I quit, but it really started where I had achieved, I wanted to be like part of the Quebec team. And they would take, the top 8 from provincials to be part of the Quebec team. And then you would go on to like divisionals, which was Eastern Canada. And then if you got qualified from there, you'd go to like nationals. And that year I won provincials. So I made the Quebec team, but that was also a year, and I didn't even know this going into it, but that I qualified then for the Canada Games, which is this like, it's kind of like a mini Olympics where
Right.
it happens like every 4 years, and it's just like in Canada, and we went to the Yukon and we did a competition there, and it was just like, that year was so busy. Like there's no downtime at all. I was just training and didn't have time to like really recover from, the competitions. There's some sort of arc that happens with the cycle and the year and the downtime that happens naturally, but that never really happened. And I think I just like overexerted myself and mixed with like achieving all the goals I had really set for myself. The Olympics were kind of this goal that I would set for my parents and coach to like give them security but I knew I didn't really think it was possible or didn't really want to do that for the rest of my life. But I was like, I'll just say this because it's the right thing to say. But I really wanted to be part of the Quebec team. I was like, I wanted the jacket and the outfit and like I wanted to like take a bus to Eastern Canada and do like competition. So after I quit, that's when like the real depression like hit, where I was like, what am I doing? What is life?
Oh, I just talked to a TV writer, and he wanted to play basketball. He was like, he was really great at basketball. And then, he wanted to like go on to play in college, and eventually he wanted to go to the NBA. And then I think he got like an injury. I forget exactly. It was something like that. There was something where he had to stop as a teenager. Or I think it was almost just that he realized he wasn't, it might have been the same thing as with the Olympics. He realized he wasn't going to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
He was good at the level he was at, and maybe he could play in college, but it was not going to go beyond that. And he kind of had to reckon with himself. I think it's such a I had difficulty reckoning with these kinds of things in my like late 20s, early 30s. I have to imagine it's extremely difficult. I didn't even really understand like making an existential choice when I was in my teens. I didn't really get it. I have to imagine, like, were you very conscious of this kind of like, this phase of my life that I thought might have been, that maybe even in the back of your head thought like this was going to be my life. Yeah. And it stops at a certain point. Like, besides the depression, like how do you reckon with it? Like, how do you come out of that depression with a kind of like goal in mind?
Well, I started playing music like immediately after I stopped skating. That's where I just put all of the old habits that I had of like practicing and training and I had never played music before this period. I mean, I had like taken like maybe one piano lesson as a child or like one guitar lesson over the course of like those 16 years, but never had really spent any time learning music. And so I just went into it like full on, and that's how I dealt with the loss of like, skating.
I think that was an interesting way you put it when you said loss. Like it has to you had to mourn that part of yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, my mom and like I saw like I had to like be put into therapy like through the. Luckily we have like really good healthcare in Quebec and in Canada. So I just I don't know. It was like a long process, but my mom's way of putting it was that I had all of these endorphins when I was skating happening and was so healthy. And then I stopped cold turkey. And that's why I got depressed, was because I wasn't training anymore. And I think that had to do with it a little bit. Yeah. But I also think that it was a loss in such a way, like all of my friends were skating friends, my coach, like were people that I was seeing every day. I changed schools after that. It was like a really big transitional moment in my life, and was hard in that way.
It's also, I mean, yes, I do know like when I go like periods without exercising, I definitely start to feel bad. But I think definitely like your body gets used to exercising, and then when you stop doing it, your body's like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I haven't exercised since.
At all?
Like at all, pretty much.
You don't go to the gym and
No.
pump iron? I don't
No,
know.
I can't. Like, I can't go near. I just like start to get really competitive again, and then I'm like, I want to be like weightlifting and like.
Oh yeah, I get that. But I think the bigger the idea of loss of self, of like of who you, like loss of who you were, because that would I assume that defined a large part of your personality and who you are as a person and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it sets you apart too growing up, and it gives you this confidence that, you know, I had something different than everyone else. I had this like other life.
Yes.
And it was really like it just shaped who I was tremendously. So when you lose that, you're like, who is this person?
Yeah, I mean, my identity as a kid was the smart kid.
Okay.
And when I moved to writing and comedy, where no one gives a shit how smart you are,
Yeah.
and my brain was constantly looking for, hey, I just wrote this sketch and it's really smart, and then no one would laugh at it, and I'm like, why aren't you laughing at it? It's such a smart sketch, and they're like, yeah, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
And it's just like I had to rewire my brain
Yeah.
to not care about whether it's smart or just write something that's funny. You're not.
Yeah.
You're no longer in boundary conditions where intelligence matters. You're now in ones
You're,
where like
free floating.
yeah, and it really like fucked with me for
Yeah.
the first. The worst was like when I went to grad school, and then I went for philosophy, and then I moved to New York to start doing comedy because I'd been doing it
Okay.
on the side for a long time, and that's what I really wanted to do.
Where did you go to grad school?
Temple in Philadelphia,
Okay.
and I remember like one of the first jobs I had, like I just had to get a day job to support myself, and I worked as like I don't even know. I won't go into it, but I just like did some like shit work at a insurance agency on Wall Street, and I went off the cliff of respect. And what I mean by that is that as a professor, when I was in grad school, I was also teaching, so I was a professor, and it's a highly respected profession.
Yeah.
And to go from there to people like yelling at me for taking a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Because the work the data entry has to be done,
Yeah.
and you can't even take like 3 minutes to pee.
Oh my gosh.
It really fucked with me. And that was in my late 20s. So like you're dealing with
Yeah.
this as a 15-year-old.
Oh yeah.
When you're trying to figure out who you are as a
I mean,
person
it's
in the
hard at
first place.
20 is also a hard time. I mean, any time is a hard moment to go through something, you know, some transitional moment. But definitely like as a child.
Yeah. But you had a therapist that helped.
Well, because I got so depressed and like my parents didn't know what to do with me, so I like was admitted into the hospital because I was suicidal, and you know, I'm just like this child, and the children's hospital and stuff. So they put me with an art therapist, and yeah, I did that for a while and nothing really helped, so here we are.
Oh, for real? Like it's still like you still are having, even though you are now a musician and you can have something to hold, like you have another kind of identity you can hold on to. It's still difficult to overcome that.
I definitely feel like I never resolved that like feeling of like emptiness of like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something
yeah.
was just taking up my whole day every day. And, you know, my days off I would spend with friends, and I had like, I don't know, my life kind of planned out in that way. And then you stop it and you're like, what is this? And even though I love playing music and I love performing and I love touring and I feel like so grateful that I can do these things that I love doing, I still kind of feel this like, well, what's it all for? Like, what is this about? Sometimes like if I'm feeling particularly dark, then I'll go to that place. But that I remember feeling that when I was like 15, 16 and being like, whoa, this sucks, you know.
I mean, do you mind if I ask how old are you now?
I never say my age.
That's fine.
I'm in my 20s.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah.
You look young. I just didn't know. I also I look deceptively. I look younger than I'm very old.
You're very.
And I look younger than I am, so that I'm like, it's I'm confused sometimes. But no, I wanted to know that because I'm like, how long have you been kind of reckoning with this? Because God, I'm just trying to think of like, am I even over? I think the more I'm out here in Los Angeles and I see kind of the like sociopathy of this business, and that being the smart kid just. Even like the idea of a meritocracy. Like I always I went from a smart kid to be like, okay, well, at least I'm writing like the funniest thing now.
Yeah.
So that should matter.
Yeah.
And then I come out here and just like, no.
Yeah.
Just because you went from like getting pats on the head for solving some kind of algebra equation to learning how to write like a very funny sketch or something.
Yeah.
It still doesn't matter in some way. And I think like, but I don't know if that ever. I don't know if like the facts of my situation still make me feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like even like you like saying like, well, I've gone to I'm now a very good songwriter. Like I said earlier, I like your album a lot, and even though that like the facts of that doesn't change the loss of self.
Yeah, for sure. I felt it today, even while I was, I had breakfast with some friends that I've just met, and they were like, let's check out this store. And so I was shopping, and I was like, who am I? Like, what kind of clothes do... And I asked my friend, and I was like, do you feel this when you go shopping or you're buying anything for pleasure and not necessity? You like tend to question your identity and your I don't know. Yeah. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it's a complete mind fuck. I mean, I think, we tend to, I think, go on autopilot when it comes to our identities. And just whatever, we tend to just say like our identities, this was my teenage years at least. My identity was the things I liked.
Yeah.
And I was fiercely protective of those things. Like if you insulted Fugazi or whatever, some band I liked, then I took that as an insult to myself in some way because I identify like this was.
You had like your list of like favorite philosophers, and you're like, these were the ones I identify with the most.
If you don't like Heidegger, you're a jerk.
I took I took 2 philosophy courses when I was at school in New York. One was Intro to Philosophy, and then the next one was. The Enlightenment period. That was
you were at the New School, right?
I was at the New School, yeah.
They have a lot of great teachers there. So
they have, yeah.
You probably had some fairly good philosophical instruction.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And like really bright conversations that I definitely didn't participate in because I was just like this music student that really wanted to learn about philosophy, and everyone else was a philosophy major. And I just really had no idea how to, converse in that way. And there's such a language to like, even the basics of understanding what a text, there's just like a whole different vocabulary to even just like reading a regular. I remember reading Kant and being like, I don't know what a lot of like these definitions are and these words, what they are. And it was just like the basis of the course was to know them.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just like somewhat a bit advanced, but I really loved it. And I like questioned going back, like kind of quitting music and being like, I'll go back to Montreal. And I like looked at the McGill programs for philosophy, and I was like,
McGill's pretty great.
Yeah.
From what I understand. Philosophy, I think Kant is, I actually like Kant's moral philosophy more than I like anything else of his. Because I think it really is a smart way of understanding ethics. And I haven't found a better way of understanding ethics. It's basically like, if you boil it down to a nutshell, to understand if what you're doing is ethical or unethical, you have to see if it depends on everyone else doing the opposite, then it's probably unethical, right? If lying to people requires that other people don't lie, so that there can be trust, and lying depends upon you manipulating the trust of others, then that's unethical. And I really like that formulation. I haven't found a better
Yeah.
formulation.
We only looked at like the critique of pure reason.
Yeah. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it was really difficult, but I just remember really finding it interesting that like we can only know objects in as much as like we can understand them ourselves, and we'll never like truly understand an object,
The thing in itself.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, my mind is blown.
Yeah, the idea that like I think about that a lot too. The idea that like actual
It's
reality
unknowable.
is because it's always being warped by both our sensory apparatus and the conceptual apparatus of humans, of human culture.
And how much we can know about it in ourselves.
But what is the like? That's the thing I go back to. I'm like, what are we really missing? Because most things are part of human culture anyway. And like, what are we missing? Like that we're not seeing a tree without.
Yeah.
I think about Nietzsche a lot. I think this is in Genealogy of Morals. I think that's the name of the book. I can't remember exactly. But like in the third part, he talks about like there is no. This is paraphrasing, but he says something about like there is no thing in itself. Basically, that would be like looking into a room. That would be like being outside of a room and trying to look. And how is this? A room with no windows.
I'm
right?
trying to see into
and trying
it.
to see into it. It's not accessible in any way. Anyway, so why are we talking about it? I think that's it. It's been a while. It's been 15 years, maybe a little more since I read that. It's fascinating though. But like, were you interested in philosophy because of this of search of this kind of like search for who you were, or was it just something separate?
I think it was in the search for who I was, who I was becoming, who I wanted to be, and definitely was intrigued by like all the philosophy students and wanted to participate in that. I think there's definitely something, even when I started music, there was an interest in music because of the possibility of doing it with other people. And skating was such an independent sport, like a solo sport that didn't involve other people in that way, that you could really like, it wasn't, I wanted to be a team player, I think, and wasn't. I'm probably still not a team player. But there was just something like really fascinating about playing music with other people, and being, in a band, going on tour. The reason why I joined the concert band at school, not knowing any instrument, was because they were taking a trip to Boston. And I really wanted to go to Boston. I'd never been. And I was like, I'll just learn how to play the bass, and that'll be that. And I'll come to Boston with the school. Same with like the philosophy group. I just wanted to be I just like being a part of like a community of some sort.
Is it because as a skater, it was so isolating?
I think that I'd like to think that's where it comes from. Yeah.
I mean, that's the easy.
There's like this deep loneliness within me that like.
I mean, do you think that was there anyway? Like even when you were
skating?
Yeah.
I think so, because I wanted to be part of the Quebec team so badly, and I wanted to go to nationals, and part of that was just traveling with everyone. I loved the idea of, we're all wearing like the same outfits and we're like part of this team and we're going to like compete. And then I ended up being like, oh, well, I'm just competing by myself. This is such a lonely endeavor. And then now like playing music, it's such a, I don't know, it's so different.
It's different. It's still, I think about this a lot about like in the modern world, I think the biggest problem besides, how about this? The biggest existential problem is this feeling in the postmodern era of a lack of connection with other people, or with even like I'm not very religious. I'm Jewish, but I don't know. I fast on Yom Kippur Yom Kippur at this point. I think that's all I do. I even like dropped Passover. Oh, here's the thing. I'm vegetarian, and it's very difficult to be a vegetarian on Passover.
Yeah. I feel like any Jewish event, like high season, high holiday event, is just really hard. Like I have to bring my own food all the time. I mean, I don't bring it, but like my aunts will bring it for me.
Is your family religious?
No, not at all. I grew up Catholic actually, but my dad is Jewish.
Did he convert, or it's just that you're?
No, they were just like casual about things.
Because I was wondering, like, I think about like this. It's not just like I never had faith.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like a deeper connection to some larger thing that I think people who genuinely feel faith have. And I find I that's a thing that I've been trying to reckon with, that I just don't have whatever that connection is.
Yeah.
And it's very lonely and isolating.
Yeah. I'm actually, this is triggering a memory in my mind where soon after I stopped skating, I stopped going to church. And I was like, Mom, church is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Like, I am never going again. And I bought the Satanic Bible and I kept it under my mattress. And I was going to like a Catholic high school at the time. And I remember just starting to question everything in my life and being like, God is not real. Like, we've like fabricated this thing to like accommodate our needs as like a society. I do not believe in this. I am an atheist. And like, I remember being like raising my hand in class and I'm like, excuse me, like, sir, I'm an atheist. What do I do now? And it was like this big topic. We had like church every Tuesday. And if you didn't go to church, you could like read a book. And then I started getting into reading and I was like, rebelling against the whole thing. And I think that was also part of my confusion was, you know, growing up and really believing in this God figure and then stopping skating, questioning why I had even done it, questioning, you know, this higher power, God, and really like realizing there was nothing out there. And it's just like, it's just you and you alone.
Oh God. So yeah. So it's at 15. You go from being like part of a team, part of a group, you have an identity, you have at least if not a deeper faith, you have a belief in God, to a kind of like, it's almost like you went through your own like enlightenment period where now you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my place is in the universe. There is no God and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And I remember feeling like it was all just like, so I remember just feeling really confused about it too, because there were so many other people in the world that were going through like bigger struggles than I was, but I felt like mine was the biggest. And that was maybe just like my adolescence talking, but I really felt like I couldn't like relate to anyone either because I felt like my pain was the biggest pain. And that was also like really confusing and isolating to being like not being able to see or like feeling guilty about how bad I was feeling because I knew other people were suffering way more than I was.
Yeah. When I first started therapy, that was like one of the first things where I'm like, I can't complain to you about like, you know, I didn't get hired for this TV show when I know that there are, you know, concentration camps on American soil.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And my therapist was like, well, it's true. As long as first of all, you should have perspective that your existential battles are minuscule in comparison, but that also doesn't minimize the effect that it has on you. And I think she was really trying to be like, it's okay to feel, you know, don't become a narcissist who only cares about themselves. You know, you should still care about the rest of the world and the problems in the world.
But it's very confusing, right? Yeah. Because you feel like this is like the pain is unbearable and you're like, but also at the same time, how unbearable is this really in the like grand scheme of things?
Yeah. And then that again, that compounds and becomes guilt. And then it just feeds back into the system.
The shame and like,
Yeah. I mean, those are my two primary, guilt and shame are like,
you are Jewish, so here we are.
I mean, again, Jewish father and Catholicism has a lot of the same guilt and shame.
Italian, my mom like being Italian too. So there's a lot of that. Her
parents emigrated from Italy.
Yeah.
What took that, where in Italy and what took them to Canada?
The war.
Oh, so this is World War II. They're fleeing fascism.
The war. And I don't know why they settled in BC. and I don't know why. I can't remember why. And then on my dad's side, I guess my grandfather was already living in Montreal, and my grandmother came from Poland like right before the war. She was like quite young. Yeah.
And then they meet in Montreal.
Yeah. And then like, I don't know, my grandmother died, and my mom moved to Montreal, and that's when she met my dad. Yeah. So that's how I was born.
How are they reacting to? So you go through not only just like leaving skating, but you're also going through this like identity crisis. Mm-hmm. How are your parents reacting to it?
Oh, they're like very, very anxious and worried and confused and like feeling probably guilt themselves for having put me through. Like, I guess they didn't know how much it was affecting me, the skating in that way, and how stressful it was. They were also very worried about me, like just being like very depressed and suicidal as like being so young. Like I remember being in the hospital and my dad just like crying and being like please, like don't let anything happen to you, like I love you so much. And he like had no idea that, you know, I was feeling like so bad.
But they were, I mean, obviously they were supportive, but like, could they understand it? Like, had they ever gone through, I think a lot of times, like, I mean, my parents and I are, a lot of our conversations are very surfacey. Mm-hmm. Like, what movies have you seen? Yeah. Who in the family has cancer? All the kind of like, God. You know, the things Jewish families talk about. Yeah. What diseases? But movies, diseases, and food. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know they have a deeper inner life, but I don't know if they've ever, you know, I think they came up in an age where things were kind of prescribed for them in a certain way. Mm-hmm. You know, you get a job, you get married, you have a family, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just like the path you took. And then I come along and I'm, you know, Naomi and I don't want kids. We work in the entertainment industry where things are nebulous, where like just selling a TV show is considered success in this town. Yeah. And doesn't even have to, it may never even be made. Mm-hmm. But just selling, like the idea, you know, of that is like, and it's tough to explain that to them. It's tough to explain podcasts to them. Yeah. And I think there's this big generational gap between me and my parents, and where like their existential struggles are very different from my existential struggles. Do you think your parents could identify with you at all, or was it just more of coming from a place of like parental concern?
I think it was coming from a place of parental concern because they never really could. Like, I think my mom at least like had to work so hard and never had any free time to think about the things that I was thinking about. Yeah. And I think me growing up in like, being more privileged than she was growing up, I had that freedom to think about things. Like I wasn't, I didn't have to worry about the same kind of things that she did. So she never had, I don't know how to phrase it, if that even makes sense, but yeah.
No, I know what you're talking. I understand. Yeah, it's just that I'm like, I wonder just like if it is just a function of generations. Like it's just like this, you know. I'm sure obviously there were people of like my parents and your parents' generation that had their own struggles.
Well, definitely like mental illness plays a big part. Like I get really bad genes from like my dad's side. They all have like crazy mental illnesses. We're all like on medication. It's just something that has been passed down. So I think in like that, you know, and just recently I was like also in the hospital too. So like everyone comes out of the woodwork at those moments and they're like, they confess to their own problems. It's really interesting because I was like, wait, my cousin is bipolar? Like, are you kidding? Like, how did this not come up? Like, you know, like, oh, the whole family is on medication. How does this not come up in like regular conversations? Because I feel so alone in this.
It's so weird too, because I mean, there's such a shame and stigma around mental illness when it's really, I mean, Naomi doesn't, we don't talk about it a lot, but she doesn't make a secret of her depression. But, I mean, she was on a podcast called The Hilarious World of Depression, I believe.
Oh,
so
yeah?
it's not a secret.
Oh, I've heard about that podcast.
It's very good. So it's not a secret, but like we talk about it like it is like a physical ailment in some way. Like in the same way, like if you sprained your leg, you would have to rest.
Yeah, and people wouldn't expect you to like be able to participate in the soccer game.
Yeah, exactly. But there's like such a stigma around and the shame and guilt around it, and it's, I really want, like, where in our in Western civilization or in global civilization did that come from, or why is it only because like psychology is such a young science?
Yeah, I think such a young science, and I don't know. I was also like very interested in like lobotomies for a like period of time where I was just watching a ton of videos on like people getting lobotomies, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, how is this a thing?
And it was for so long. And then trepanation. Anytime like anyone drills into any part of your
God.
Of your head, it's fascinating. And also I'm just like, why did we believe that was a thing?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So coming out of that, like, you still are like feeling this loss, still feeling this kind of like, even today, who am I as a person? Which is most of us should be feeling. Again, I think people just like rely on like a handful of like things that, like I like skiing, and they're like, well, that's my identity.
Yeah.
Instead of like any kind of and they try to like go deeper, and it just like mist or something, like they try to grasp it and it just like goes through their fingers. How do you like start to get yourself back?
Through music, I think.
So it really is like this is
I replaced music, skating with music, where I was like, oh, now I'm the music person, and just really went into it full on. That was all that I did and all that I wanted to do, and I was still in high school and just practicing a ton. Joined like a band, a metal cover band. Yeah, that was like we like didn't win Battle of the Bands, but we came very close to winning. We did like Protest the Hero cover songs. I don't know, they're like a Canadian like prog metal band.
Like Tool, like the Canadian Tool,
like crazier. Like everything is in odd meter. It's hard to explain. You just have to like listen to it. There's an album called like Kazaya or something like that I like really listen to. But anyway, so I think I just replaced it with music and then practiced music and bass. That was my thing, was bass, for so long. Like got into we do this thing in Quebec called CEGEP, where it's like a schooling system right after high school to prepare you for university, so you don't jump in right away, and it's free, like provided by the government unless you go to like a private school. And it's a genius program because it really allows kids to try out different professions, or if you like programs that they would want to go into without spending, I don't know how much it is here now, but when I was going to new school, I think it was like almost $40,000 a year students were paying. Yeah. So it's just like a free program to get you prepared for university without dropping all the cash. And so I finished high school, then practiced a bunch, got into this program in CEGEP, practiced a bunch, and then I got a full scholarship to go to new school. And that was just like my dream come true. I was like, oh, this is what's happening now.
Besides the idea that this is like a new identity for you, was there something about music that filled in the hole that skating left? Was there something besides like obviously discipline, like both require a lot of discipline to practice your instruments?
I loved that aspect of it. the discipline, but there was also this mysticism about music that like I still feel, and I still see it when I meet musicians that are just incredible musicians. It just happened this weekend where I was like, how are they so good? Like, what is music? You know, and then it inspires you and you're like,
Yeah.
I just want to know everything about it.
I know what you're talking about because it's such a complex thing, and it weaves such a. I really understand that like idea of mysticism. I mean, I'm a very sciencey person, but like it does. Like you sit at a concert or you stand at a concert, and watching everyone there, kind of like it's very much a thing that like. Makes everyone feel like one in some way. If that's the closest I've ever gotten, probably to faith, to feeling a connection to something larger than myself is
At a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think I felt that. I saw that when I was 15, even with the concert band at school, being like totally mesmerized by their performance and wishing that I could participate in that. And it's just like a few chords can do that, you know. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
That's what's like so beautiful about music, is that it doesn't take much at all. Like one note over like one chord, you know, if it's the right note. If it's a good note, it can like really move you.
That actually seems like a really nice place to end.
Yeah.
How do you feel now?
I feel great.
Cool. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
glad. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we could talk.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh.